There's an oil costing just $3 that renders any cast iron pan completely nonstick. It provides a permanent solution. For 6 months, you won't have to reseason the pan or start over from scratch due to the coating flaking off. Furthermore, it requires neither meticulous maintenance nor special drying rituals to prevent the surface from degrading faster than it was built up. It is truly permanent. A single proper application of this oil creates a polymerized layer bonded to the iron surface that is chemically equivalent to a durable industrial-grade coating. It does not flake or crack, nor is it damaged by acidic foods, metal utensils, or high heat. Because the cooking process itself sustains the polymerization reaction, the surface becomes harder and more non-stick with every subsequent use. A cast iron pan that has been properly seasoned with the right oil and used regularly will become even more non-stick in its 5th year. By its 10th year, it will be even more non-stick than it was in its 5th. The very best non-stick surface on a cast iron pan is the oldest surface of the oldest pan, provided, of course, that it has been treated correctly. And the cookware industry wants to ensure that you never learn what correct actually means. The global cookware market generates annual revenues exceeding $10 billion. The demand for products to replace non-stick cookware, triggered by the degradation of Teflon and ceramic coatings, sets in motion a multi-billion-dollar cycle, which the industry has integrated into its product lineup with the same precision it applies to everything else. A cast iron skillet, properly seasoned with the right oil, lasts forever. Literally forever. Cast iron skillets, seasoned in the 19th century, are still actively used on a daily basis in American kitchens today. They have outlasted the manufacturer, the original owner's children, and the very home in which that owner cooked. And now they will outlast the person currently using them as well. A non-stick surface that lasts forever is not a product opportunity. It is a market threat. And the $3 oil that creates it was available in every grocery store even before the non-stick cookware industry emerged to replace it. This oil is linseed oil. It is obtained via the cold press method from the very same flax plant whose fibers have been woven into linen since the days of ancient Egypt. It is the same oil that artists refer to as linseed oil, the very oil they use to bind their oil paints. It is the same oil that, when exposed to oxygen at high temperatures, transforms into a hard, flexible polymer film. And this is the story of polymer chemistry that metallurgical engineer Cheryl Cantor documented in a 2010 blog post. A story that the cookware industry has, ever since, hoped would vanish from the internet. Welcome to Forbidden Camp. Subscribe right now and be sure to click the bell icon. This channel is prying open the vaults that have been kept locked tight for years. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Let me take you to the iron foundries of 18th century Pennsylvania, where the first American cast iron pots and pans were produced. These pans came from iron-rich ore deposits in the Appalachian foothills, rooted in European and ancient Chinese technology dating back to the 5th century BC. For centuries, every pot was seasoned not by the manufacturer, but by the user at home using whatever oil or fat was at hand. While households used lard or tallow, cookware seasoned with linseed oil consistently developed the hardest, most durable, and most non-stick surfaces. The chemical basis was not understood then, yet the observation was clear. Linseed oil was superior. This chemistry was already known in the artist's studio. Linseed oil, industrial flaxseed oil, was used by 14th century artists because it dried into a hard, water-resistant film rather than staying tacky. The same drying chemistry applied to iron rather than canvas produces a hard polymer surface. The cookware and the canvas share the same molecule. Fast forward to 2010 in the American Northeast. Software engineer Cheryl Cantor is frustrated by the inconsistent advice found in modern cookbooks. Cantor applied her engineering training to research the polymer chemistry of drying oils, identifying the key variable, the iodine value. Iodine value measures a fat's unsaturation. Higher values mean more double bonds, where oxygen attaches to create a hard, complete polymer film. Flaxseed oil has the highest iodine value at 178 to 203. Crisco and shortening are below 100, while lard is only 65. Cantor published her flaxseed oil protocol on her blog in 2010. It became one of the most cited pieces of cast iron knowledge online. The industry, selling pre-seasoned pans with vegetable shortening, had no response because the chemistry was irrefutable. Now, let me show you exactly why this works, because the polymer chemistry of drying oil seasoning is the most important piece of cast iron cookware knowledge that has been systematically absent from every cookbook, cooking show, and culinary school curriculum for the past 50 years. Seasoning on cast iron is not a coating of oil sitting on the iron surface. It is a polymer bonded to the iron surface. The distinction is everything. Oils that do not polymerize properly remain as soft, sticky films that food adheres to, that wash away with soap and water, and that turn rancid with repeated heating cycles. This is why poorly seasoned cast iron is sticky, smells unpleasant, and seems to get worse with use rather than better. The oil never converted from a soft film to a hard polymer. Flaxseed oil contains alpha-linolenic acid as its primary fatty acid, comprising approximately 50 to 60% of its fatty acid content. Alpha-linolenic acid has 3 double bonds per molecule, making it a polyunsaturated fatty acid with exceptional reactivity toward oxidative polymerization. When flaxseed oil is heated to approximately 230 degrees Celsius in the presence of the iron surface, 2 processes occur simultaneously. First, the oxygen in the oven atmosphere reacts with the double bonds in the alpha-linolenic acid chains, initiating a chain reaction of cross-linking between adjacent fatty acid molecules. This cross-linking converts the oil from individual mobile molecules into an increasingly rigid 3-dimensional polymer network, the same process that converts linseed oil in paint to a dry paint film. Second, the iron surface catalyzes this polymerization reaction. Iron ions at the surface of the pan act as oxidation catalysts, accelerating the polymerization of the oil molecules directly at the iron-polymer interface. This catalytic effect produces a particularly dense and well-bonded polymer layer at the iron surface, with the polymer chains chemically incorporated into the iron oxide layer at a molecular level rather than simply adhering physically. The resulting polymer surface has a hardness and adhesion to the iron substrate that common cooking oils cannot achieve. This is why a pan seasoned with Crisco remains slightly tacky and soft, even after proper seasoning cycles, while a pan seasoned with flaxseed oil produces a surface that rings with a hard sound when tapped with a fingernail, identical to the sound of the 19th century skillets whose century-old seasoning has hardened to a glass-like consistency. A study published in the journal NPJ Materials Degradation in 2022 by researchers at MIT analyzed the chemical composition of seasoning layers using X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy and transmission electron microscopy. The analysis confirmed that the seasoning layer is a cross-linked polymer, approximately 100 to 300 nanometers thick, chemically bonded to the iron surface through iron oxide intermediates. The polymer chemistry confirmed that drying oil polymerization was the correct mechanism, and that the iodine value relationship Cantor identified predicted polymer quality accurately. Now here is where the story takes the turn the cookware industry has always hoped you would never reach. The global cookware market generates over $10 billion annually. Non-stick cookware generates approximately $3 billion of that total. Every dollar depends on one belief, that non-stick cooking requires a specialized coated surface that degrades over time and requires periodic replacement. Teflon cookware typically lasts 3 to 5 years before the coating degrades to the point where replacement is recommended. Ceramic non-stick coatings last 12 to 18 months of regular use before losing their non-stick properties. The replacement cycle generates billions in repeat purchases from consumers taught that non-stick is a temporary property of a fragile surface, instead of realizing it is a permanent property of a properly maintained iron surface. A cast iron skillet properly seasoned with flaxseed oil costs $20 to $35 for a production pan, or more for a vintage pan. It never requires replacement. Its non-stick properties improve with use. It cannot be damaged by metal utensils. It can be stripped and reseasoned if neglected and returned to perfect condition. The flaxseed oil required to season it costs $3 per bottle, and one bottle provides enough oil for multiple complete seasoning protocols. The market for a product that requires no replacement has no repeat purchase cycle. The market for a product that lasts a human lifetime has no replacement sale after the first purchase. Le Creuset, Lodge, Staub, and established manufacturers understand this perfectly. They sell cast iron and market it correctly as lifetime cookware, but none of them prominently teaches the flaxseed oil seasoning protocol that maximizes the pan's performance. Because maximum performance from a pan the customer already owns eliminates the justification for purchasing an additional or replacement pan. The industry's preferred recommendations feature vegetable shortening and low iodine oils that produce acceptable but not optimal seasoning, ensuring a small but persistent performance gap between the pan the customer has and the pan the customer could have, which the industry fills with upgraded products rather than better information. But here is what the cookware industry's information control cannot prevent. Because Cheryl Cantor published her analysis in 2010, and the internet does not unsee. It is a post that cast iron enthusiasts have read, shared, tested, and confirmed across 15 years of accumulated documentation. The cast iron cookware community is one of the most thoroughly self-documenting communities on the internet. Enthusiasts photograph their pans at every stage of seasoning, document results across multiple protocols side by side, and maintain detailed records of outcomes. This collectively constitutes an enormous body of evidence confirming Cantor's analysis. The consensus across this community is essentially unanimous. Flaxseed oil seasoning produces measurably superior results to every other oil tested. The difference is visible and tactile. The performance advantage grows over successive use cycles as the flaxseed polymer continues to harden and bond to the iron. A culinary instructor in Chicago documented a head-to-head comparison in 2018, applying flaxseed oil to new skillets and vegetable oil to an identical set. After 12 seasoning cycles and 3 months of identical use, the flaxseed oil pans showed a visibly darker, harder, more uniform surface. They produced lower food adhesion scores in egg tests, while vegetable oil pans showed persistent, spotty adhesion patterns that had not resolved. A homesteader in Tennessee documented the complete restoration of a severely neglected 19th century cast iron pan in a 20-20 project video. The pan had been stored outdoors and was completely rusted. After electrolytic rust removal and a flaxseed oil protocol, the surface was transformed. The homesteader described it as the most non-stick surface he had ever cooked on, including any non-stick coated pan used professionally. The pan's iron was over 100 years old. The polymer on its surface was 2 weeks old. The flaxseed oil cost $3. Here's exactly what to do. I want to be precise about every variable. The difference between a good flaxseed oil seasoning and a poor one comes down to 3 specific details that no popular source consistently gets right. Here's what you need. Number 1, food-grade cold-pressed flaxseed oil, available at grocery stores and health food retailers in the cooking oil or supplement section. Do not substitute linseed oil from hardware or art supply stores, which contains drying accelerant additives not safe for food contact. Food-grade flaxseed oil only. A standard 16-ounce bottle costs $8 to $12 and provides enough oil for dozens of complete seasoning protocols. Number 2, a clean oven capable of reaching 230 to 250 degrees Celsius. Number 3, paper towels and clean cloths for application and wiping. Here's the protocol. Step 1, strip the pan. Remove all previous seasoning by scrubbing with steel wool and hot soapy water until the iron surface is bare gray metal. Dry immediately and thoroughly with a paper towel. Then place the bare pan in the oven at 150 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. This is to drive out any remaining moisture. A bare iron pan will begin to rust within minutes of exposure to air. Step 2, apply the first coat. Remove the pan from the oven carefully. Apply a very small amount of flaxseed oil to a paper towel. Wipe it over the entire cooking surface, the outside of the pan, and the handle. The amount of oil should be so thin that the pan looks almost dry, not visibly wet or shiny. This is critical. Too much oil produces a thick, uneven polymer layer that flakes rather than bonding. The oil film should be invisible. Step 3, bake the first coat. Place the oiled pan upside down in the oven at 230 to 250 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. The high temperature is required for complete polymerization. Lower temperatures produce incomplete polymer formation that remains tacky. At the end of 1 hour, turn the oven off and allow the pan to cool completely inside the oven. Do not remove the pan while hot. Step 4, repeat. Apply the second coat identically. Bake for 1 hour. Cool completely. Repeat this process for a minimum of 6 coats. Each coat adds a layer of polymer approximately 30 to 50 nanometers thick. 6 coats produce a surface that you can see and feel as a dark, hard, slightly glossy layer. Total time investment for 6-coat seasoning, 6 to 8 hours across 2 days. Total material cost, approximately $1 in flaxseed oil. The surface you produce will improve with every subsequent cooking session as the heat of cooking continues to polymerize residual oil. By the 20th cooking session, the surface will be noticeably darker, smoother, and more non-stick than after the initial seasoning. By the 50th cooking session, it will be better still. The pan will never stop improving as long as it is used. The cookware industry needs you to buy a new non-stick pan every few years, but the flaxseed polymer does not expire. Your cast iron is a lifetime investment. Some knowledge does not disappear because it failed. It disappears because the replacement cycle built around its inadequate substitutes cannot survive its common adoption. The Pennsylvania ironworker who poured molten iron into a sand mold in 1820 and produced a skillet that is still cooking eggs in someone's kitchen in 2024 did not know about iodine values or alpha-linolenic acid or oxidative polymerization. He knew that the pan needed to be oiled before first use and that the oil needed to be baked on properly. The cook, who has used that same pan every day for 100 years and passed it to her daughter and her daughter to hers, did not know about drying oil chemistry. She knew that the pan cooked better than any other pan in the kitchen, and that it was hers to take care of so that it would be there for the next cook after her. Cheryl Cantor, who sat down in 2010 with a chemistry reference book and calculated the iodine values of cooking oils, was not attacking the non-stick cookware industry. She was an engineer applying her training to a practical problem. She found an answer that was always there in the physical chemistry of drying oils, waiting for someone to ask the right question. The cast iron skillet on your stove right now, if it is seasoned with shortening or vegetable oil, is producing about 60% of the non-stick performance. The flaxseed oil that would give it the other 40% costs $3 at the grocery store. The seasoning protocol that applies it correctly takes 6 hours across 2 days. The surface it produces will outlast every non-stick coated pan you will ever buy. Every piece of cookware in your kitchen, and quite possibly you. The cookware industry needs a replacement sale every 3 to 5 years. The iron does not. If this vault changed how you look at the cast iron pan that sticks more than it should, or the non-stick coating that is already flaking, or the cast iron skillets your grandmother left you that you are afraid to use, subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to know. The pan that lasts a lifetime needs $3 of grocery store oil applied correctly once, and nothing more forever. The next vault opens soon.